This is episode 221 of the Super League pod, and it's Challenge Cup time as we ask, what is a double movement? We know it's not the stewards ejecting ref abusers, sadly. We know it's not an intense burst of speed from a lead centre come second rower. It might be an I take one away, so I give one back decision by Robert Hicks, but it's certainly not what we knew it to be. Plus, who's off to Primark? Who won't be celebrating prematurely if the rumours are true? And who doesn't know how to play in dry weather? Find it all out on your favourite Rugby League podcast, the Super League Pod. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 221 of the Super League pod. This is your regular host Mark, and I'm joined this week by one of our regular co-hosts, Alan. Different weekends in the Challenge Cup for us both. Me left frustrated on Sunday, you left absolutely delighted on Saturday. Alan, how are you doing and welcome back?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's good to be back. Pretty good weekend, really. All in all.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get to Saturday's events later down the track. But yeah, I'm all right. Thank you very much.
Excellent, good stuff. For new listeners, Alan's a Bradford fan, I'm a Wigan fan, and that's kind of what we were alluded to there in the introduction. And also for new listeners, if there are any out there, what we'll be doing today, the normal thing we do is we'll go through the news from around the world of Rugby League and any views we've had in, usually from a Hull KR fan called Tom Andrews. Then we're going to go through all the matches. This week it'll focus on the Challenge Cup matches, loads of fan reviews that we've had of the games that have been sent in. A few new names on there this week, actually, Alan, so that's quite good.
Yeah.
But before
and some of them are real as well.
Before we get to that, do you want to tell us who sponsors this episode of the Super League pod, Alan?
Yep, so this episode is sponsored by Little Warden. If you have a website, then visit littlewarden.com and see what they can do to help you. They can help you with domain expiration checks, redirects, and all sorts of other important background web stuff they'll make simple for you.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks to Little Warden for their continued sponsorship of the show. What we've got coming up then, the Challenge Cup's going to dominate the show with your fan reviews of the games and reaction to the draw as well, because of course we know the draw and we now know the order that the games will be played in as well. And we'll also have a little bit of a look ahead to the Championships day out, or weekend out, shall we say, on the seaside, as it's the Summer Bash next weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about that. It's the first Summer Bash that I won't be going to. I've seen every single game that's been played at the Summer Bash live and in person until this year.
You must be part of quite a select group.
Oh, actually, I missed
done that.
one day one year. One year I only did one day. But I've been to every single Summer Bash.
But you certainly must be up there in terms of numbers of matches watched, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but unfortunately, or fortunately, the way it swung around this year, I'm going to be in Barcelona instead next weekend, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, we'll include a little look forward to the Summer Bash when we get through to our predictions part of the show. Is there anything you wanted to call out before we went through a few little mentions that I've noted down, Al?
Yeah, I really should do. It's become a bit of a tradition now. So as always, living in my wife's shadow. Those that follow her on Twitter will have no doubt known. What's that?
I said she's not that big. She's normal size.
Okay, just her intellectual shadow, if
not, that is
not,
very
not
much
physical.
It's yes.
That's definitely true. Definitely true.
Dominant.
So those that don't know, she appeared on the BBC film programme this weekend. She had a little slot on there. She was talking about a film that means a lot to her. So she recorded it back in February. So it's been kind of in the offering for quite a while, and obviously I haven't been able to talk about it until it's broadcast. But yeah, it was on this week. So it's the episode with Mads Mikkelsen in it. So yeah, so have a look at that.
So where can people go to find that?
Anywhere on the BBC Sounds, or on the website, or it's repeated on the radio itself. And yeah, it's basically just search for the film programme on the BBC and it should come up.
Excellent stuff. Well, she's outstripping us massively. I was
going to say she's appearing on proper radio shows, not Tim podcasts. But there you go.
Oh, well done to Anna on that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right, a few mentions from me. I want to mention again the fan survey. We're over 900, but not quite at the magic 1,000 number that I'm hoping to achieve of this survey. If we run through the sort of clubs in order of how many we've had fans of each club in, just to sort of give people an idea and maybe spur some of those people on who support the lower ranking clubs in this. But the club that we've had the most fan views in from is the Wigan Warriors. The second most is coming from the Toronto Wolfpack, and the third most is coming from the Leeds Rhinos. Now they're the only three clubs that have actually cracked triple figures. We've had plenty in from both Hull sides, Wakefield, Castleford. They've all done very well in terms of numbers as well, sort of reflective of the sizes of the fan base to the overall size of the survey populace, I would suggest. Clubs that maybe are underperforming a little bit at the moment. Warrington and St Helens, in terms of respective compared to their fan base, are a little bit low on the percentage scales of how many people have filled in the surveys. Certainly Salford and Catalans are low down. Now Catalans, I'll give them a little bit of a pass, given that it's the second language for most of the people that support that club that the survey is in. But certainly the Salford Red Devils fans, if any of them are listening, I don't believe any listen anymore. I don't know what we did to upset them. We always talk nice things about Ian Watson. Down in the Championship, lots of Bradford fans have got in touch. A few Halifax, a few Batley. There's some clubs that haven't been represented at all down at that level, though. And League One, very, very sparse. A few Coventry Bears fans, which probably isn't that surprising, given our Tim G was on the Bare Necessities podcast this week. And a few fans of other teams. North Wales have had a couple in and stuff. But yeah, please do check out the fan survey. It's going to be open for... basically, it's going to be closing the day before Magic Weekend.
Okay. Well, yeah, I noticed that the Super League were trying to drum up a little bit of ticket sales for Magic Weekend by ranking number of ticket sales as well. So yeah, a little bit of healthy competition does no one any harm.
Exactly. Just to mention as well, whilst we're mentioning things, that we did a short on the Leeds situation. When we get to the news, we'll talk about David Ferner, but only briefly, because we covered that. We had a 50 minutes or so chat with John and Josh, who are both Leeds fans. I'm going to say sorry for the sound quality on that, because there was a few bits that were a little bit Dalek-y, so I apologise that we couldn't quite iron those issues out, but still it was a really good listen. I sat listening for most of it whilst we were doing it and letting those guys talk. Good insight from two fans with some different views to each other on the sacking.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah, the sacking of David Ferner and the way forward for the Rhinos as well, and is there a bigger problem at the club? So do go back and check that one out, because we're not going to go into deep detail on the David Ferner situation in this episode. And then finally, a mention for Magic Weekend. The main mention for Magic Weekend is something we talked about at the end of last week's show, or I talked about at the end of last week's show, which was we want to this year try something a little bit different for Magic Weekend, because we've got the Bank Holiday Monday after the weekend, so I've got a little bit more time to try and edit things together. What I want is fans from teams in each of the games to come on and run through those matches and the fan reviews we've had on those matches with me. So we've had someone who's got in touch who wants to do the Hull KR versus Salford, I think it is, game. Sarah's going to be in doing the game that Hull FC are in. Obviously, I'll be here to do the Wigan Warrington game. But there's still 3 games yet to be grabbed by fans of those sides. So I don't have the fixtures all in front of me. But if you're a fan, go into Magic Weekend and you want to then have a 10-minute spot on the Super League Pod the next day, then please hit us up on the social media channels at Super League Pod on Twitter and Instagram, facebook.com/Super League Pod or superleaguepod@gmail.com if social media ain't yo thang. And that's all the things I wanted to mention for you all in the opening to this show. I don't really have anything else to bring to the table at this stage, Alan, so I think we just move on to the news.
Yeah, let's go. Right, so news now from around the world of rugby league this week, and the Tuesday curse was in full force last week. Leeds Rhinos sacked head coach David Ferner, who'd only been charged for 14 Super League games. Leeds were third bottom from Super League after just 4 league wins. Richard Agar will act as interim head coach until a permanent replacement for Ferner is found. Tom Andrews got in touch with this one, said, can't imagine in what world you look at the dumpster fire that is Leeds at the minute, throw your coach in and see the phoenix Richard Agar rising from the ashes.
Richard Agar
in Agar we trust.
The coach that is the most disliked by fans, but the most well regarded on the flip side within the within the community of like the game players and other coaches and stuff. It's a very strange situation. Richard Agar
it's the biggest disparate, as you said. I think that there isn't a single fan base where he's coached where you'll find many fans, but he obviously does something right in terms of his role as an assistant. Perhaps that's where he
obviously
best placed.
Just impresses those people above him in whatever he does, maybe not results on the field, as we'll get to later on.
He manages upwards, yeah.
You mentioned the Tuesday curse. You'd have thought it'd be like tripled down by now, the Tuesday curse, because the 3 best rugby league podcasts all come out on a Monday, or in our case, very late on a Monday, sometimes early on a Tuesday. But hey ho. And so you'd think that we had all those years of being hit by it, 2 or 3 years of being hit by it before other podcasts started up on a Monday, and it seems to have died down. So it's good that it was in full force this week. I gave my sort of views on this one. So did you have anything to mention on this one before we move on?
As I said, I didn't necessarily disagree. Obviously, I'm not as close to the circumstances, but yeah, it's the soonness of it suggests to me that there's something beyond results behind this, whether it be a cultural disagreement or something that's broader than just broader than just number of league wins on the table, I think. So, but yeah, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, you don't really want to know about. But yeah, it's the kind of thing that is unlikely to come into the public forum. So. We'll see who they persuade.
A bigger disconnect than just the form. There's obviously something where they thought Ferner was disconnected from either the people above him or the players below him, so much so that there was no fixing the issues, even if the form was to be fixed.
Indeed.
So I'm sure we'll be talking about this story for days and weeks to come as we wait until Leeds appoint a new coach. In the meantime, we'll move on to other news from this week. And Salford Red Devils have terminated the contract of back row forward Jansen Turgott following an internal investigation. The 23-year-old has made 10 appearances for the Red Devils this season and joined the club late in 2018, really, from Hull FC. The club told BBC Radio Manchester that the incident was an off-the-field matter and his conduct was unacceptable. Sort of sideline on this one, Gary Carter over the weekend tweeted that it was a drugs-related matter, and that's what led to Turgott basically having no more job with the Salford Red Devils. They cut him adrift. They said, you only get one chance here. That no matter how small our squad might be, no matter how decent you might have been performing on the pitch in those 10 appearances, you are done for.
Yeah, it is a shame because from what I've seen of him, he's actually been playing well. But as you say, that kind of stuff is the right to stamp down on it whilst it's in their own hands.
Definitely. He was in my fantasy team for a spell because he was doing pretty well.
I think he was in mine as well when I first picked it.
Yeah, but he's a goner now. So it will remain to be seen if he sorts himself out, if he can manage to address what issues lead him to stepping out and misbehaving and missing curfew and maybe taking things or